So today on Project Shop, we are back on these motors. Last night, if you've seen that last video, I cut off, ate dinner, and I crashed out. I probably got the best sleep that I've had in weeks, if not months. I actually went to sleep probably around 10 o'clock p.m., which is very unusual for me. I'm usually up until 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. You know, I usually work way too much. And then I'm up, you know, out here getting it again. But yeah, it was a good, well needed rest. So now we're back at it. A couple things. These were the angle plates that I was using to put in here as a you know, a spacer. And you can see I just had them tacked. They were just tacked on there. I actually need to go find like a real piece of angle, because as you can see here, we've blown this thing out, man. This I-beam is not it. Which this I-beam, I believe, was a piece of a bigger piece of I-beam that I have that I was going to use to wrap this with. And I'm glad I didn't, because even though that is the same thickness as this, it's the 100 tons is just a whole nother level, you know. It really is. And I would have had to basically drill a hole in this to make it work. We just need to come up with a better plan. I think I'm just going to get a thicker I-beam and just make a 100-ton press. We'll have to get a mag drill, or I'll have to put the beams. Probably better if I put the beams up on the milling machine and use the digital readout and drill the holes that way. That way we can get them relatively where they need to be. But I'm just going to keep splitting this. I got this thing dialed in pretty good. I mean, some of them, it's weird. Like some of them be 1 or 2 off. That wasn't bad. This one split perfect. You know, a couple of them split really nice. So we're a little bit better. But what I need to do is I'm going to clamp this thing down so we can actually, I'm going to run this blade down. We're going to clamp that in position. We're actually going to clamp it right here. Okay. So, you know, every time I run this, I'm always thinking how to make it better. What can I use? What can I use? What I have on hand is the main thing. Because I always started out, like when I started scrapping and building this equipment, I used what I had on hand, and I, you know, just made do with what I had. And, you know, saved a lot of money. But sometimes you just got to buy certain things. What I really like to do is have a 1/2 inch thick or thicker. I might have some thicker plate to build it. Make a custom actual V-block, not this stupid I-beam thing. And then have bore 4 holes in this plate. I probably should take the plate off and bore the holes like in the mill so they're perfect. And then I can make multiple jigs, like this jig, the puller jig, and they all locate with them 4 holes. So everything, whenever you put the jig in, it's just going to be centered, and you don't have to really clamp it down. Or maybe I'll make some type of clamping system. I don't know, but that's the ultimate goal, is to just have different plates. Even with the cracking those cases, I need like something to hold it on the bottom. And the machine that I'm replicating, the guy had an interesting thing on the bottom where he was holding and breaking things. So Okay, so we're just gonna put this back up. Now this thing was actually doing really well with just the plates sitting in here like this. I just put them there. They are a little off. I don't know what I was thinking when I made this thing. I think it was just, you know, I had this stuff on hand. And that's what I was doing. So, let's see. Alright, first split of the day. Let's give it a little lube. Oh, we got moisture and some water in our oil. I think what I'm going to do, I want to get like a spritzer that I can put 2 hoses and just like a pump where I could just hit it real quick, it blast it with oil, and I can keep moving. Wow. That was interesting. I gotta figure out why it's doing that. Now we're off our thing. Yeah. I don't understand why it does that on some of them. I'm thinking the main problem I'm having is just not a square point to start. That really got off. We went from almost center. Maybe that's the problem. I'm not going exactly center. It went way off and got worse and worse and worse. Like it was like this machine is still twisting or something. Okay, so right away I'm noticing that thing blew out. I wonder if I have this blade backwards. Let's try that. But we were splitting. We were splitting pretty good. Well, let me see what happens here. Okay. It's like as it gets halfway through, it starts pushing over. Now, I had this thing centered. Look how far over we are. Wow. Wow. You know what I just noticed? This whole thing, I don't think that's doing anything. This whole thing just moved. Do I not have a spacer in here? This was moving. That's interesting. But now that we have that thing on an angle, oh, now we're out. We're out of stroke. We're short stroking it today. Okay. I thought I was doing better just having it on the flat surface down there. The problem is there's not much. That one was relatively perfect except for one. We got off one, and it didn't even really get off on it. It just kind of pushed it out at the end. Those I'm okay with. I'm gonna try rotating the blade around and see if that does anything. I'm thinking it's this carriage is the issue. And you know what? You know what I don't see? I greased this up. I see it rubbing here, 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 and there. I can see it rubbing here and there. I can see it rubbing out here, but I don't see it rubbing here. And that might be where Yeah, I can see this thing running on the grease everywhere except for right there. So let me go find a piece of that stuff, see if I can't get it up in there, and then see if that, well, you know what, let me just run this now that I swapped that blade, see if that made any difference at all with anything. I mean, these plates that are loose are not helping. Run another one just to be sure. And even if it is still nice, I am going to try to tighten that thing up. We got to get all the shaking or flexing out of this thing as possible. So I am thinking, because that actually went to the other side. So I'm thinking there is something wrong with how that blade is on here. I should probably, well, now that I bent that bottom plate, it's going to be hard to put a square. Originally I had a square up in here and it was pretty close, but it's hard to tell because this thing is tapered. But I can tell just visually looking at this plate here, it's bowed from when I welded those things on there. So I think what I'm going to have to do is up the plate size, preheat it, get it hot, have it clamped down, you know, weld it again, make another one. And then we're going to have to redo this setup here so to accommodate a bigger plate. And then I mean, that's going to be another day. But today, simple fix, I'm going to try to put another shim in that side, because I did notice this thing was walking a little bit. But when I shake this thing, it's pretty stout, but there's still room for things to move. What I really need to do is have 2 cylinders. I just need to make a bigger press is what I need, because then if I start putting things on the inside, I'm going to start limited what I can put inside there, and we don't want to do that. So like I said in the other video, this press here might be dedicated to pulling. It does a pretty good job at pulling, and I can reinforce it to do that job. I already have a piece of metal that what I was going to do is have this, the pins. I had a piece of metal that I was going to bring down to support that was sleeved, so it was inside another piece, and as I could pull a pin, and as this went up I can pull the pin, because when I pull with that puller, this is like, I don't think a lot of people realize how hard I pull on some of these big motors. This stuff here, that's probably not going to be too bad. That might be a little tough. That's a pretty decent sized motor. But man, when you get into them big 900,000 pound motors, the big generator stators that I've had, the one that literally bent my puller, I mean, that is a stout, heavy duty, 1/2 inch thick steel puller. For it to twist those arms and bend it, you gotta realize how hard I am pulling on stuff, you know? When you're bending 1/2 inch steel, like, this is not 1/2 inch steel, you know? I mean, it's a lot, and it's kind of sketchy, me being right next to those. I always gotta remember not to put my stomach or my arms, you know, I try to get the pressure on it and then get my hands away from it, because if it shoots out underneath that pressure, you know, it's liable to take off. Although, you know what? I've thought about this. I have that tool balancer, but there's actually another thing that I used to use for cutting concrete, and I would put it on my safety harness and attach it to when I was working on bridges, demoing bridges. It almost looks like that tool balancer, but it's like a retractable lanyard that almost works like a seat belt. So when you pull it and you're working, you can walk around and extend it out, no problem. But as soon as there's a fast, rapid, movement, it locks. So like if you tripped and fell off the bridge, it would lock and, catch you. I should probably put something like that on here so that if it did pop off and fly back, it would stop. That'd be cool if they had those, because they are spring loaded, if they had the springs adjustable where it was all in one mechanism. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm gonna go get the thing for that, see if I can't shim that, and we're just gonna keep splitting, keep trying to dial this in. I'm looking for something thicker. I got some big plates, some big round plates. I might just have to cut them up. What I need is a big giant piece of angle iron. Oh, the dude in Miami had that stuff. I see things sometimes and I'm like, oh wow, that's cool. I'd like to have it. I don't know what I would do with it. And like, I got to budget my money, because I could just sit there and buy everything and then be out of cash. Yeah, I need to actually start making a list that I can keep with me when I see stuff. Heavy angle, 6-inch on either side would be great. Thicker than 1/2 inch would be even better. And then I can make a proper holder that's not going to blow out, that's not going to give. And I could even make it adjustable, like the height wise, to accommodate my lack of holes. So many thoughts, so much stuff to do. Sometimes I just get lost in my own thoughts. Okay, so I got that shim in there, and it seems like, it is scraping the more so on the top than the bottom. It is running on the grease now. I straightened this out as much as I could, still bowed out a little bit. I straightened it and bowed it back out. I'm gonna go round up some steel. I need a proper something that's not giving, because what's happening is, so I haven't noticed the carriage move. Before I would notice like a slight tilt. This thing is solid, it's not moving. I don't see any flexion at all. Problem I'm having is this is not squared, and it's flexing and it's moving and it's letting the stuff do weird stuff. I need a thing that is going to be just straight up heavy duty. It's not going to flex. It's got to be thicker steel than this, and it's got to be located to center. And I'm really going to have to, because this thing is so, obviously I cut it with a torch. Anyway, it's just not. It needs to be revamped. All this stuff needs to be revamped. My initial thought that this stuff was going to be heavy enough for what I was doing. Even with the original 55-ton cylinder I had in here, I'm now thinking I would have just bent the crap out of all this stuff. All this stuff needs to be like 3/4 inch thick plate. So that being said, let's try to split this big old thing. Give this thing a little lube. I definitely need a spritzer on it. I like the idea of a spritzer. I could almost have it to where when this thing comes all the way back up, well, maybe we won't be coming all the way back up all the time. I was gonna say I could just have the spritzer bottom out on here where it just sprays it every time. All right, let's line this thing up. Okay, I think we really only got off on one. And that's my fault for actually pulling it out. So for the most part, this thing is actually working really good, even with the chips and everything in it. I believe that my main problem is too much stuff is moving. Matter of fact, I was just watching as I was... So check this out. There's movement up here. This is bending down. I noticed when I was trying to line that up, when I was jogging the button, this was still moving. Hard to tell where it was moving, but it's not moving as much as it was, I can tell you that. This was the first time I tried splitting one of these. This is the exciter on the end of a generator. Cut right through it. And see, I'm wasting time with not having enough stroke to plow through this stuff in one shot, you know. If I can utilize the full length of that blade, which isn't even a big blade, all this would have been done in half the time. We wouldn't be messing around with stuff. And once I get it in there and it's cutting, I can tell right away, like, if it's going to cut nice and clean like that. Now, the way this blade is, it gets wider and wider. So as it gets in there, it should technically push these plates apart. And if this is square, there shouldn't be all this, you know, running off and cutting, you know. The problem is, I think I'm not square this way, and I'm not like square that way, whatever you would want to call that. Everything just needs to be square and nothing needs to move. And I think we got something here. Okay, enough of that. We're going to move on to this stuff over here. I want to see if I like what that copper catcher was doing with the air chisel. I don't know if my air chisel even really works that well. Okay, so I tried to clamp the thing into my tire machine, but it wouldn't close down enough. Now, I think the guy at the copper catcher, he welded something to here. I didn't want to modify this, even though I have mine are adjustable. I can this is why I didn't want to mod them. I could push this button here and I can slide these back, you know, but they're already slid all the way in. Now, I've had this lathe chuck for a while. Fortunately, it sat over there and got a little rusty, but that's okay for what we're going to be using it for. I never thought I was actually going to put it on a lathe. I always wanted to put it on a rotator and use it to clamp stuff that I can weld with. So if I could just drop it on here, then it's ready to go. It's basically going to do exactly what I need it to do. And we can just, bam, tighten it up. And then we can rotate it. Now, I don't have a key for this one. So what I did is I found a piece of this square stock. I'm going to cut a little piece off and I'm going to get that to fit down in there. I'm probably going to weld that to a socket that I can just put on a thing like that. And while I have the welder out, I was going to bring the welder out anyway because I have to repair this. This is the bottom portion of my thing. Since we're going to be pulling this copper, I got to get this sorted out. I'll clean that up, bend it back, weld it. That's the lip that holds that. Okay. So and that right there is showing you like how hard I'm pulling on things sometimes with this stuff. It's a lot. So I'm going to round up some stuff, get the welder out here, and find what I'm going to use for that, cut a little piece, and then I can just take these, and if I can't get it to go on the inside, I think I can get that to come in enough so I can just clamp it from the inside. That'd be pretty cool. I could just open it up, and even, this is a lathe chuck, I'm pretty sure I can undo these and turn them around and then put these out here. Kind of a cool thing, a nice little addition to what I got here. And being that this is 3 jaws, I'm wondering if certain AC compressors would be better to cut them up here. I don't know, but I've been wanting to put this on a rotator for so long, and I don't know why I never thought about just dropping it on here. Now if I'm welding something round and I want a steady bead going across, I can set it up and run it. I'm going to get, what do I need? I need a socket that I can use as a, you know, just a throwaway socket. And oh, we should be good to go, man. We'll put this on there. I don't know if the chip and hammer is actually gonna, my air chisel will work. If not, we're just gonna set the grinder up. And unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to collect the dust on this situation here. I don't think I have any cardboard. It's been raining. I might be able to put a piece of cardboard under here. What I really like to do, because this thing has air, it's an air motor. I want it to actually plate this under there so the sparks don't get down and burn holes through the air lines. I don't know what we're going to do. I want to cut all this crap off. So I'm not going to be using the... Do I still have the parts for this? I got to see if I still have the parts for this. I was just thinking, I was like, maybe I should put this back, you know, have it be able to break tires. But the problem... Now that I'm thinking about it, the problem is I have none of the valving to run the air things to do that. And I have a whole nother tire machine over there that I bought all new hoses for. Anyway, let me get this sorted and so we can start pulling some copper. This actually worked out really well with the grinder. Once I got that thing in there, it mowed it down. And this is where I'd like a pedal to adjust the speed, because once it's in there, I could probably crank up the speed a little bit, but it did a great job of cutting that crown off. Unfortunately, It is slinging little bits of copper dust. I tried my thing. Here's the deal with my air chisel. Okay, first of all, this is a Harbor Freight special. Second of all, while I was Harbor Freight, they had these quick release things on clearance. And I know why. They were on clearance for $8. The ball, it's like a regular air chuck thing down in there. When you pull this down, it releases these balls. The balls are not made of a hardened material. So when this thing slapping around in there, beating it up, it deformed them to the point where they won't go back. They're like stuck. I can't get this bit out. This bit is stuck. And when I put this quick release deal on there, it's got these Allen screws which kept backing out. And if you could tell, I took a chisel and I basically chiseled them in place. You know, they're not coming out. So unfortunately, this thing just doesn't hit hard. The one that the copper catcher has and the one that Steve had, they were like proper air chisels. Now this is the little Chief. I think there was a big Chief. I don't know if it's going to be any better. I did sharpen the blade and it was cutting. The problem is this blade is not wide enough. I need like a big fat boy, and this thing's just not hitting hard. So that right now is not a viable option for me. I am going to upgrade to a proper air hammer, air chisel, and the proper blades. The guy that gave me the pump actually gave me a nice one with a V, and I think that's what I really need, is like a big wide one with a V, so you can kind of just get in there and it holds it in the middle. I think that would actually work pretty well, or even just a big wide blade. But I just don't have the proper, you know, air chisel. So but I do have a big old grinder with a diamond discs on it, and that thing mowed through this stuff. I got a couple here that we're going to cut, and oh, here, let me show you this. So I took a 5/8 socket and welded a piece of 1/2-inch stock to it. Now already I can see that stock getting messed up. Here's the problem. There's a tight spin. This is probably why they got rid of this chuck. I don't want to go any more further. The threads are kind of, it gets tight when you open it up a certain amount. Now I probably shouldn't be using the impact on this. Let me find my other drill. I use a drill on this other one so that it doesn't like tear this stuff up. But I mean, this is kind of heavy duty, so I don't think it's really gonna. Yeah, right there it gets tight, man. And I don't think all this copper dust getting down in there is gonna help. I do believe that the air chisel would probably be the best route to do this, but that's not what we have at the moment. So I'm gonna put my grinding jacket on, a face mask, and we're gonna bust out a bunch of this stuff. We're gonna go old school and use a cart or something. I need here, I'll just put it right here, I guess. Now, being that this thing is kind of just like out in the open, it's not really efficient because, or basically I need a table. This needs to be incorporated in a table so that I can have my flow. We're gonna get there. As soon as I pour some concrete in here and I can get these two machines up on the slab, get them leveled off, because that might be a problem with that press too, is it's sitting on uneven ground. So it's doing all kinds of weird stuff. Until we can get everything leveled, it's going to be hard to get everything squared up. that actually worked really good. And once you get in a groove, you know, and you know all the steps, you know, I'm trying to hit the valve, tighten the thing, put, you know, copper crowns are going everywhere. But I will say that is much better than trying to do it on a vise. You know, you put it on there, you go. Now what would make this better rather than reaching up there? One, having the grinder like right here. Two, having a foot pedal to operate the air. So that's something I've said before that I want to do. And then we're going to have to implement that. Now, for the dust, I don't know, man. The only thing I can think about is, it's going to be tough. I could possibly bring in, like, it'd almost be nice to have like a vac sucking it right off the back of that thing. And this thing cuts it pretty good, but I can see the copper possibly gumming up the diamonds, glazing them over or whatnot. A lot of things to think about, but for a backyard makeshift, just threw it together dealio, that works great. I really like that. I should cut these compressors while I'm right here. So I only got 2 of them now. I guess I can do that. All right, let me see what my next step's going to be, and then we're going to start pulling copper and putting some copper in the bucket. I want to clear that table, all that copper stuff over there. I want to get it out of here today, or at least in the bucket, not out of here. And then we got a lot of cleaning up to do. We're going to clean up all that steel. I got steel out in the field. I want to clean up that pile of scrap right there and all that wire and clean that so I have a straight path back to my little shed over there, so I can start getting this stuff out of here and, you know, start sorting through my stuff and finding my tools, finding all my stuff. Oh, I think this, I don't know if that's the bit that the guy gave me for knocking out the, okay, I got that taken off. I'm gonna knock these out real quick because I want to split all the things. I found 2 more things I want to split. One is a transformer, and then I'm going to attempt to split this. I tried to split one of these before in the past, and it did not want to do it. So we're going to try. If not, I will we'll cut one side and cook it. I'm going to, after this video, I'm going to bring over the incinerator, see if I can't get that thing working, because I have a pile of transformers over there that have a stainless case, has a potting compound and transformers inside. So, and then I got a couple more, like I got these 2 things right here, and then there's, I think in that bucket there might be more. So what we're going to do is, after I'm done this video, we're going to do a cleanup. We need to clean up so I can just not be overwhelmed with scrap. I don't think I ever drained these. Well, we'll let them drain. While they're draining, I found 3 transformers that can go through the transformer press. So we'll knock them out real quick before we transfer over to the other side. So we're already set up for the small ones, which is nice. I gotta find some gloves, man. Good thing about these 3 transformers is they are all copper. Okay. Definitely need to go find my gloves. All right, now I'll have a bucket over here. Anyway, we're getting a little bit of copper in the bucket. We're gonna have to go switch over to a drum probably. I needed to do that because I need to take that pump and the fitting off of that cylinder. This pump is what I've been using to pull the copper. So now we need to undo this. And I'm looking for my fittings. I think I have, you know, before I pull that fit in, I'm gonna get this set up. I'm gonna see if I have another fitting so I don't have to keep swapping that back and forth. I don't mind doing the pump, but having to undo that fitting every time is kind of a pain in the butt. I'll tell you where we're going, right to the scrap yard.
copper dance before?